The door exploded inward. Kabam! Not metaphorically, not dramatically. Literally, the brass handle hit the wall with enough force to dent imported Italian plaster, and Nikki Ann stumbled through the opening like chaos personified, her room service cart careening ahead of her with the grace of a drunk elephant. She looked up. He looked back. And in that frozen moment, steam from his shower still curling around his bare shoulders, water droplets tracking down abs that looked carved by an angry god, tattoos of dragons and tigers rippling across skin that had never seen softness. Min Joon Park realized he'd just broken his 5-year vow without saying a single word. Because this woman, this absolutely stunning, dangerously curved, magnificently thick black woman, who'd just crashed into his presidential suite like a beautiful disaster, was staring at him with eyes so wide he could see his own reflection in them. And for the first time in 5 years, Min Joon Park felt something besides cold. He felt heat. If you're ready for a story that will wreck you in the best possible way, that will make you believe in second chances and impossible love, and the kind of chemistry that rewrites your entire understanding of attraction, then you better subscribe to Afro Asian Love Chronicles right now, and smash that notification bell so hard it breaks. Because what happens next is going to make you scream, cry, throw your phone, pick it up, and immediately call everyone you know to tell them about the most intense love story you've ever witnessed. And I'm not exaggerating. Not even a little bit. Let's begin. 12 hours earlier, Nikki Ann had been having the worst day of her professional life, which was saying something, considering her professional life had included being screamed at by a celebrity chef for bringing him regular milk instead of oat milk, getting her hand stuck in an ice machine, accidentally walking into a private high-stakes poker game wearing a chicken costume for a kid's birthday party in the wrong ballroom, and once memorably spilling an entire tray of red wine on a woman wearing a white wedding dress 3 hours before the ceremony. But today was special in its awfulness. It had started when her alarm didn't go off because her phone had died, and her backup alarm, a wind-up clock her grandmother had given her, had stopped working sometime around 3 a.m., when its spring finally gave up after 40 years of service. She'd woken up at 7:47 a.m. for a shift that started at 7 a.m. Then the subway had broken down. Then she'd tripped running up the hotel service entrance stairs and torn her only backup uniform. Then her supervisor, Mrs. Kang, a tiny Korean woman with the energy of a caffeinated drill sergeant and the mercy of a tax auditor, had informed her that she was being moved from breakfast service to the VIP floor because someone had called in sick. VIP floor, Nikki. You understand? Very important people. Mrs. Kang had enunciated each word like she was teaching English to someone who'd never heard of vowels. No mistakes, no spills, no talking unless spoken to. You smile, you serve, you disappear. Like ghost. Beautiful, polite ghost. Nikki had nodded, tied her natural curls up in the regulation bun that never quite contained all of them, smoothed down her uniform that kept riding up in the back because, let's be honest, her ass was not designed for standard-issue hotel uniforms, and headed up to the 30th floor with her cart and her dignity, and very little else. Room 3006 had ordered breakfast. Continental Plus. Nothing fancy. Croissants, fruit, coffee, orange juice. The works. Nikki checked the slip 3 times. 3006. Definitely 3006. She knocked. Room service. No answer. She knocked again, louder. Room service for 3006. Still nothing. Mrs. Kang's voice echoed in her head. Asterisk. If no answer, you check manifest. Confirm order. Use keycard for delivery of guest requested drop-off service. Asterisk. Nikki checked the manifest on her phone. Sure enough. Asterisk 3006. Continental Plus. Drop-off, authorized. Asterisk. She swiped the master keycard. The door clicked. She pushed. The cart's front left wheel, which had been squeaking ominously all morning, caught on the doorframe. Nikki pushed harder. The wheel broke free. The cart lurched forward, and Nikki stumbled after it, her whole body following the momentum because physics was real, and her center of gravity had not been consulted about this maneuver. The cart crashed into something expensive sounding. Nikki caught herself on the doorframe, looked up, and her entire brain short-circuited. This was not 3006. She knew this because 3006 was supposed to be occupied by a retired couple from Wisconsin, celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. This room contained exactly one person, and he was definitely not a retired couple. He was also definitely not from Wisconsin, and he was absolutely, devastatingly, almost entirely naked. Min Joon Park stood 15 feet away in the bathroom doorway, frozen mid-step, wearing nothing but a towel wrapped dangerously low on his hips, and an expression of complete shock that would have been funny if Nikki's brain had been functioning well enough to process humor. But her brain had officially left the building, because this man, this absolutely sculpted, insanely beautiful, water-dripping, tattoo-covered man was the most stunning thing she'd ever seen in her entire 26 years of life. He was tall, maybe 6'1", 6'2", broad shoulders that tapered to a defined waist, arms that looked like they could bench press a small car, chest muscles that had their own zip code, and abs. Oh sweet Jesus, the abs. She could literally see the water droplets rolling down them like they were on some kind of guided tour of masculine perfection. His face was all sharp angles, high cheekbones, strong jaw, lips that were somehow both hard and soft at the same time. His hair was black, wet, pushed back from his forehead, and his eyes were dark and intense, and currently locked onto her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Shock? Definitely. Anger? Possibly. Something else? Something that made her stomach flip in a way that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with the fact that she was suddenly extremely aware of her body in a way she hadn't been 30 seconds ago? Absolutely. The silence stretched. Nikki's mouth opened, closed, opened, again. I am so sorry. I thought the room number I was supposed to. Who are you? His voice was deep, accented, controlled in a way that suggested he was actively choosing not to yell. Nikki Ann. I work here. Room service. I had an order for 3006, but I think I might have. She looked at the door. The broken number placard dangled from one screw. The 0 had fallen off completely, leaving just 3 and 6. Sendalu. 36. Oh no. This is the penthouse suite, he said. And it wasn't a question. Yes it is. And I was definitely not supposed to be here. I am so sorry. I'm leaving. Right now. Immediately. She grabbed her cart, tried to back up, but the broken wheel locked, and the whole thing tilted, sending a carafe of orange juice sliding toward the edge. Nikki lunged for it. Minjun moved at the same time. They collided in the middle. His hand closed over hers on the carafe. His other hand caught her waist, steadying her. She looked up, and suddenly they were close. Too close. Close enough that she could see individual water droplets on his collarbone. Close enough to smell expensive soap, and something else. Something warm and male and absolutely intoxicating. Close enough to see his pupils dilate. His grip on her waist tightened. Just for a second. Just long enough for her to feel the heat of his palm through her uniform. Then he released her like she'd burned him, stepping back so fast he almost tripped over his own feet. Leave, he said, but his voice came out rougher than before. Now. Nikki didn't need to be told twice. She grabbed her cart, wrestled it backward through the door, and didn't breathe again until she was in the service elevator, with the doors closed and her back against the wall, and her heart trying to hammer its way out of her chest. What the hell just happened? She looked down. Her hands were shaking. Her entire body was shaking. From fear? From adrenaline? From the way his hand had felt on her waist? Firm and warm and possessive, in a way that should have scared her but instead made her feel like every nerve ending in her body had just woken up for the first time? The elevator doors opened on the main floor. Mrs. Kang was waiting, arms crossed, expression promising death. Nikki Ann. My office. Now. Nikki followed, mind still spinning, body still humming with awareness, completely unprepared for the fact that her life had just changed in ways she couldn't begin to understand. Because Min Joon Park, standing alone in his penthouse suite, staring at the closed door, his hand still tingling from where he touched her, was having the exact same realization. For 5 years, he'd felt nothing. And then, a thick, beautiful, absolutely stunning woman had crashed through his door, and his entire carefully constructed world had cracked wide open. Mrs. Kang's office was small, airless, and currently vibrating with fury so intense Nikki could practically see it shimmering in the air. Do you know, Mrs. Kang began, her voice deadly quiet, whose room you just invaded? A guest. A very angry guest. I know. I'm so sorry. The number was Min Joon Park. Mrs. Kang enunciated the name, like it should mean something. It didn't. Nikki stared blankly. Mrs. Kang's eyes widened. You really don't know? Should I? He owns this hotel. The words landed like a physical blow. What? He owns this hotel. And 3 others. And half of Gangnam. And Mrs. Kang lowered her voice to a whisper. Other businesses we don't talk about because talking about them is bad for health. You understand? Nikki understood. Or rather, she was beginning to. He's powerful, dangerous, private, and you just crashed into his room while he was showering. Mrs. Kang collapsed into her chair like her bones had given up. I'm going to be fired. You're going to be fired. We're all going to be fired. I didn't mean to. The number was broken, and the manifest said, it doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what happened. And what happened is you violated the privacy of the most dangerous man in Seoul. Nikki's stomach dropped. Dangerous how? Mrs. Kang just looked at her. That look said everything. Asterisk. Dangerous like you don't ask questions. Dangerous like people who cross him disappear. Dangerous like you just made the worst mistake of your life. Asterisk. I'll apologize, Nikki said quickly. I'll write a letter. You'll do nothing. You'll go home. You'll wait. If he wants you fired, you're fired. If he wants more. She stopped, shook her head. Just go home, Nikki. Pray he forgets you exist. But that was the problem. Because 30 floors up, Min Joon Park was discovering that forgetting her was going to be impossible. He'd gotten dressed. Black suit, black shirt, black tie, armor. He'd sat at his desk, opened his laptop, stared at the screen without seeing a single word. All he could see was her. Those eyes warm brown, wide with shock. Then something else when they'd touched. That body curves that belonged in art museums. A waist his hands had fit around perfectly. Hips that had made his mouth go dry. That hair natural curls escaping from her bun, framing a face that was all soft femininity and underlying strength. That moment when she'd looked up at him and something had passed between them. Recognition. Awareness. Heat so intense it had physically hurt to step away. He'd spent 5 years building walls. 5 years in control. 5 years making sure nothing and no one could get close enough to matter. And one woman, one beautiful, clumsy, absolutely devastating woman had crashed through every single defense like they were made of paper. His phone buzzed. His head of security. Sir, about the incident this morning. Handle it, Min Joon interrupted. The employee has been identified. Nikki Ann Whitmore, American. Been working here 6 months. Clean background check. No priors. No connections to any rival organizations. It appears to be genuine mistake. I said, handle it. How would you like me to? I don't care. He ended the call. That was a lie. He cared. He cared too much. That was the problem. He pulled up the hotel's employee database, found her file. Her ID photo stared back at him, professional, composed, beautiful even in the unflattering lighting of corporate photography. Nikki Ann Whitmore, 26. Originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Hospitality degree from Georgia State University. Transferred to Seoul 6 months ago through an international placement program. 6 months in Seoul. That explained the slightly uncertain way she'd spoken Korean. That explained why she hadn't known who he was. That explained nothing about why he couldn't stop thinking about her. His phone rang again. Different number. His cousin Ji-hoon. I heard you had an interesting morning, Ji-hoon said. Amusement clear in his voice. Min Joon closed his laptop. Who told you? Everyone's talking about it. American woman crashes into the boss's suite. Boss doesn't kill her. Boss doesn't fire her. People are curious. People should mind their business. People are wondering if you're getting soft. Let them wonder. Min Joon, Ji-hoon's voice shifted to something more serious. Are you okay? Really? Min Joon was quiet for a long moment. Ji-hoon was the only cousin who'd survived the purge 5 years ago. The only one who'd proven his loyalty by standing with Min Joon when everyone else had scattered. The only person, besides Dr. Kim, who he trusted with anything resembling honesty. I don't know, he admitted, finally. You want to talk about it? No. Okay. But Hyung? If you need anything, I know. He ended the call. Stood. Walked to the window. Looked down at Seoul spreading below him like a kingdom he ruled but didn't belong to. He'd built this life as a fortress. Safety through isolation. Control through distance. Nothing could hurt him if nothing got close. But now he'd felt something. Wanted something. Wanted someone. And that was more terrifying than any enemy he'd ever faced. Because enemies, you could fight. Enemies you could eliminate. But this hunger that had woken up in his chest, this need to see her again, to touch her again, to understand why one accidental collision had made him feel more alive than he'd felt in 5 years, he had no idea how to fight that. Worse, he wasn't sure he wanted to. Asterisk. Asterisk. Act 3. The Return. Asterisk. Asterisk. 3 days passed. 3 days during which Nikki waited for the axe to fall, for security to escort her out, for her visa to be revoked, for something catastrophic to happen, because she'd invaded the privacy of a man who apparently owned half of Seoul and all of the shadows. Nothing happened. Mrs. Kang avoided her. Her co-workers whispered when she passed. But she kept her job, kept her shifts, kept waiting for consequences that never came. On the 4th day, she was called to the manager's office. This is it, she thought. This is where I get destroyed. The manager, a thin man in an expensive suit who'd never spoken to her directly before, looked uncomfortable. Miss Whitmore, you've been reassigned. Fired? No. Reassigned. Effective immediately, you'll be working exclusively on the VIP floor. Penthouse service. Nikki's heart stopped. The penthouse? Mr. Park has requested you, specifically. Why? The manager's expression suggested he'd been asking himself the same question. I don't know. I don't question Mr. Park. Neither should you. Report to the 30th floor tomorrow morning. 7 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. That night, Nikki couldn't sleep. Why would he request her? To torture her? To fire her personally? She didn't let herself finish that thought. Because the alternative that maybe, possibly, he'd felt what she'd felt, in that moment they'd touched, was too dangerous to consider. The next morning, she arrived at the penthouse suite at 6:55 a.m., 5 minutes early, because being late felt like suicide. She knocked. Room service. Come in. His voice, muffled by the door, still made her stomach flip. She swiped the keycard, the proper one this time, authorized and pushed the cart inside. Min Joon sat at the dining table, fully dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than her annual salary. His hair was styled. His expression was controlled. But his eyes tracked her movement like a predator watching prey. Good morning, Mr. Park, Nikki said, proud of how steady her voice came out. I have your breakfast. Set it down. She did, arranging everything perfectly. Croissants on the left, fruit in the center, coffee on the right. Hands steady despite her racing heart. Look at me. She looked up, met his eyes. That same electric shock ran through her, just like the first time. I'm sorry, she said. About the other day. The wrong room. I didn't mean to. Why did you come to Seoul? The question threw her. What? Seoul, South Korea. Why? She hesitated. I needed a change. After. She stopped. Personal information felt dangerous to share with this man. This dangerous, powerful, devastatingly handsome man. After what? After my fiancé cheated on me with my best friend, and I walked in on them in my own apartment 2 weeks before our wedding. The words came out flat. Factual. 5 years of therapy had taught her how to talk about it without breaking. Something flickered in Minjun's eyes. Understanding? Sympathy? She couldn't tell. So you ran. I relocated. She corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Running is about fear. Relocation is about choice. I chose Seoul because it was far enough away that I'd never accidentally run into them, and because I'd always wanted to live somewhere that would challenge me, make me grow. And has it? Every single day. He stood, walked toward her. Nikki's breath caught. He stopped 2 feet away, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact, close enough that she could smell that same soap, that same warm male scent that had haunted her dreams for 3 days. You're not scared of me, he observed. Should I be? Most people are. I'm not most people. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile but close. No, you're not. He reached out slowly, giving her time to step back if she wanted to. Nikki didn't move. His fingers brushed her cheek, tucking a curl that had escaped her bun behind her ear. The touch lasted maybe 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds rewrote Nikki's understanding of what physical attraction felt like. Because this wasn't just attraction. This was combustion. You're beautiful, he said quietly. I thought I imagined how beautiful when you first crashed in here, but I didn't. You're stunning. Nikki's brain struggled to form words. I thank you? It's not a compliment. It's a problem. Why? Because I swore 5 years ago that I'd never let anyone close again. Never let anyone matter. Never let anyone become a weapon my enemies could use against me. I'm a waitress. I'm nobody's weapon. You are now. His hand dropped. He stepped back. Because I can't stop thinking about you. And in my world, that makes you the most dangerous person alive. Nikki's heart was trying to escape through her ribs. I don't understand. My name is Min Joon Park. I own this hotel and several other legitimate businesses. I also control most of the organized crime in this district. I've spent 5 years building walls so high nothing could get through. And then you crashed through my door and demolished every single one in 30 seconds. He turned away, walked back to the window. You should be terrified of me. You should quit this job. Leave this city. Forget you ever saw me. But I'm selfish. I'm dangerous. And I want to see you again. Nikki should have run, should have grabbed her cart and disappeared and never looked back. Instead, she heard herself say, then see me again. He turned. What? You said you want to see me again. So see me. I'm here every morning at 7. You want to talk? We'll talk. You want breakfast in silence? I'll serve breakfast in silence. But don't tell me to run because you're scared. I've run before. I'm done running. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then finally he smiled. Really smiled. And it transformed his entire face from hard angles into something softer, younger, breathtaking. Okay, he said. Tomorrow. 7 a.m. Tomorrow? She agreed. She left before her knees could give out. Made it to the service elevator. Collapsed against the wall. What the hell had she just agreed to? And why did it feel less like danger, and more like the beginning of something inevitable? For 2 weeks, Nikki brought Minjun breakfast every morning at 7. For 2 weeks, they talked. She learned he took his coffee black with 1 sugar, that he was allergic to shellfish, that his mother had died when he was 12 and his father when he was 25, that he'd inherited an empire he never wanted but couldn't walk away from. That loyalty was everything to him, because betrayal had cost him everything. He learned she was from Atlanta, but had never fit in there, that her family was big and loud and loving in ways that both comforted and suffocated her, that she'd always felt like she was too much, too curvy, too loud, too ambitious, too everything, until she'd moved to Seoul and discovered that too much was just enough. In a different context, they talked about music, food, books, movies. She made him laugh, actually laugh, when she described her first week in Seoul, trying to navigate the subway system, with exactly 4 Korean phrases, and determination bordering on delusion. He told her about running his first business deal at 16, terrified he'd fail, shocked when he didn't, about the weight of expectation, about living in a world where showing weakness meant death. They didn't touch. Not after that first time, but the awareness between them grew heavier every day. Until the morning, Nikki arrived and found him standing at the window, shoulders tight, jaw clenched. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." "Liar." He turned. "Don't push." "Too bad. I'm pushing." "What happened?" For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "I received a threat last night. Someone knows you're coming here. Someone knows you matter to me." Nikki's blood went cold. "What kind of threat?" "The kind that means you need to stop coming here." "No." "Nikki, no." She set down the coffee pot, walked over to him, looked up into those dark, tormented eyes. "I won't let some coward with a threat scare me away. I won't let you push me away because you're scared." "I'm not scared. You're terrified. I can see it. But here's the thing, Minjun, I'm terrified too. Every morning I come here, I'm terrified, because I'm falling for a man I shouldn't fall for, a man who lives in a world I don't understand, a man who could break me without even trying." His hands fisted at his sides. "Then why do you keep coming?" "Because you're worth being scared for." The words hung between them. Then Minjun moved. His hands cupped her face, tilted her head back, and his mouth crashed onto hers with 5 years of starvation behind it. Nikki gasped. He took advantage, deepening the kiss, backing her against the window. His body pressed against hers hard everywhere she was soft, desperate everywhere she was willing. His hands slid down to her waist, gripping, pulling her closer. Nikki's hands found his chest, felt his heart pounding through expensive fabric, then slid up to his neck, into his hair, holding him like he might disappear. The kiss was fire. It was claiming. It was 5 years of walls crumbling and 2 weeks of restraint shattering, and everything either of them had been trying not to feel exploding into something neither could control. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minjun pressed his forehead against hers. "I don't know how to do this," he whispered. "I don't know how to let someone in without destroying them." "Then we'll figure it out together. They'll come after you. Anyone who knows you matter to me. Let them come." Nikki pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "I'm not going anywhere." He kissed her again, softer this time, reverent, like she was something precious he was afraid to break. "Okay," he breathed against her lips. "Okay." The threat had been real, and it had come. 2 months after that first kiss, men had tried to grab Nikki outside the hotel. They'd failed because Minjun's security team had been following her since day one. The men had been dealt with. Their employer had been dealt with. The message had been sent. Touch her, and die. 4 months after that first kiss, Minjun had taken her to meet his remaining family. Jihoon had liked her immediately. His grandmother had looked her up and down, nodded once, and said in perfect English, "You have strong spirit. Good. He needs strong woman to keep him human." 5 months after that first kiss, Nikki had moved into the penthouse. Not because Minjun asked, though he had, repeatedly, but because she'd decided that being close to him was worth any risk. And now, 6 months later, she stood in that same penthouse, looking out at Seoul's glittering skyline, wearing nothing but Minjun's shirt and a smile. He came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, pulled her back against his chest. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured into her hair. "About how I crashed into your room and changed both our lives. Best crash I ever experienced." She turned in his arms. "Was it worth it? Breaking your vow? Letting someone in?" Minjun looked down at her, this beautiful, thick, stunning woman who demolished his walls and rebuilt his world, and smiled. Every single day, he kissed her. She kissed him back. And somewhere in the city below, life continued. Dangerous, complicated, uncertain. But up here, in this moment, they were just 2 people who'd found each other by accident and chosen each other on purpose. And that was everything. Thank you for experiencing Minjun and Nikki's story. If this made you believe in second chances, in love that crashes through walls, in the kind of connection that changes everything, then subscribe to Afro Asian Love Chronicles right now. Hit that like button if you believe some accidents are really destiny in disguise. Share this with someone who needs to know that sometimes the wrong door leads to exactly the right person. And comment, worth the risk, if you believe that love, real love, is always worth being scared for. Because Min-jun spent 5 years protecting himself from feeling anything, and Nikki crashed into his life and reminded him that being alive means more than just surviving. Sometimes it means opening the door, even when you're terrified of what might walk through. Until next time, remember, the most beautiful love stories start with the bravest accidents.